So he says, رحمه الله, فإن العلم مصباح يستضاء به في ظلمة الجهل والهوى. And so knowledge, and knowledge in general, so now knowledge in general, meaning seeking it and teaching it, seeking it and teaching it is more virtuous and more rightfully. And this is because knowledge, it is a light that one is able to see the way by way of in the darkness of ignorance and desires. And a light is a means for a person to see the truth and to follow the straight path in the wilderness of darkness and of the darkness of ignorance and the darkness of desires. So a person, he could be overcome by ignorance, and ignorance is a disease and it's a darkness that a person will be lost in. وَلِيَعْذُ بِاللَّهِ وَلِيَعْذُ بِاللَّهِ. And the one who is upon jahl, he is upon dalala because of that. And dalala is misguidance. A person, he is dal, he's wandering, he doesn't even know where he's going. That's the person who's called dal, somebody who's wandering. He doesn't know where he's going, or he thinks he's going somewhere and he's going the opposite way, or he thinks he's heading to some beneficial place and in reality is heading to his destruction and he doesn't know it. And the likes like this, he's misguided. This is because of ignorance. This is because of ignorance. Also, a person has to have light as well in the darkness of desires, because the desires are dhulma, likewise, darkness. That a person, maybe he knows some aspects of the truth, but the desires and the whims will overcome him. The desires and the whims will overcome him and blind him. And he'll be blinded by his lust and the likes like this, and from his whims. So the knowledge is a light for these affairs. A knowledge is a light to remove these affairs. So this is the issue, and so it's more virtuous. So it's more virtuous. So to seek it or to teach it takes precedence. And in times whenever there's competition between the two, muzahama. So he says, فَمَنْ صَارَ فِي طَرِيقٍ عَلَى غَيْرِ مِصْبَاحٍ لَمْ يَأْمَنْ أَنْ يَقَعَ فِي بِئْرٍ بَوَارٍ فَيَعْطَابَ. And so the one who is traveling on the path and he does not have a light, then he is not safe to fall off in a dangerous pit and be destroyed and perish. And he in a dangerous and abandoned or ruined well. And he meaning the one who is traversing on a path and he doesn't have any light with him. At any moment he may slip and fall into something dangerous. And he's mentioning here a ruined well, and a well in the ground. He may slip and fall into that and perish. And because he has no light to see. And this is a beautiful example. A person, if he's walking on the path, he does not want to fall into a hole. He's not looking for a hole to fall into, but because he has no light, he'll fall into it anyways. Because he has no light, he'll fall into it anyways. What will he do then? At the time he'll perish. Likewise, the one who does not have knowledge. If he does not have knowledge, he's not looking for shirk. He's not looking for bid'ah. He's not looking for the anger of Allah and destruction. He's not looking for the hellfire. Maybe he's looking for something opposite of that. But because he has no light, he will fall into that where he did not even perceive. He will fall into that where he did not even perceive. We see the example here. The one who has no light on the path. The one who has no light on the path. This is again the importance of knowledge. So the author, he says, قال ابن سيرين إن قوما تركوا العلم واتخذوا محاريب فصلوا وصاموا بغير علم والله ما عمل أحد بغير علم إلا كان ما يفسد أكثر مما يصلح. So he says, it's been mentioned by Ibn Sirin, rahimahullah ta'ala, died in the year 110, Muhammad ibn Sirin, rahimahullah. He says that verily there were individuals who left off knowledge, and they turned away from knowledge, and they took the maharib. The maharib is the place for the imam, and they stepped up to speak about the religion and talk about the deen and worship Allah Azza wa Jal without knowledge. So therefore they started praying and they started fasting without knowledge. اتخذوا المحاريب فصلوا وصاموا بغير علم. And they stood in the places of the imams, and those who have authority and knowledge in the religion, and they prayed and they fasted without knowledge, meaning that they brought much corruption and deviation and misguidance. And then he said, I swear by Allah, no one has ever committed an action without knowledge except that which he performed brought more corruption than it did good. Except that which he performed brought more corruption than it did good. And the one who works without knowledge, then he will be working upon ignorance, and he will be working upon desires and whims, and he will not be able to hit the mark, except for very rarely, and because of his ignorance and because of his desires. So this goes back to that wonderful statement of Al-Imam Al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala fi sahihi, al-ilmu qabala al-qawli wal-amal. That knowledge, it must precede every statement and action. That knowledge, it must precede every statement and action. And the one who proceeds in this manner, he bases his statements and actions upon clear and sound knowledge, then his statements will be good the majority of the time. And very rarely will he slip, in his speech, and if he has wisdom and control over his tongue, and likewise his deeds. And likewise his deeds. But as for the one who speaks without knowledge, then he can't help but lie, or say that which is foul, or say that which is wrong, or make a mistake. And the one who acts in the same way, in the same manner, this is the outcome of that person. This is the outcome of that person. And we can see this with regards to the affairs of the dunya. And if a person here were to start talking about mechanics or about engineering, and he has no knowledge, or if he was to start talking about the computer technology, and he has no knowledge, he never studied, he never read a book, or maybe he just read some article on the website, and he starts talking like he knows, like he's a doctor, then he's going to corrupt some things. He's going to break some issues, and he's going to break some things, and it's going to cause problems and the likes like this. And so this is not going to be accepted from him. A person, he wants to step up and talk about the affairs of medicine, for example, and the different cures for this disease and that disease. And when we ask him, where did you study medicine at? He never studied. He never studied. We wouldn't accept that from him. You would never take that from him. You would never let him work on you and your family, or give you a prescription and the likes like this. It wouldn't happen. And likewise, if he was an engineer, or a mechanic, and the likes like that, you wouldn't take that from him. So how about the deen? The deen. And likewise, Ibn Sirin, he has another beautiful statement. Inna hadha al-ilma deen. Fanzuru amma ta'khuduna deenakum. Verily, this knowledge is deen. So look where you take your deen from. And this knowledge is deen, meaning that you're going to base your actions that are going to be weighed. And this knowledge that you are learning and taking, it is religion. And you're going to base your deeds upon that. And your deeds are going to be weighed, and you're going to be held accountable for them. So if the knowledge is taken from the proper source and it's good and it's sound, then inshallah the actions and the statements will be good. But if not, then not. And so you have to look where you take your knowledge from. Especially in these days when knowledge is just going left and right. Yani from the push of a button, and everyone is coming and going and sitting and talking and acting as if they have knowledge in the religion. And likewise, many of the people are ignorant, and they're not able to verify and to tell the difference between the people of knowledge. And they will find somebody who has learned a few vocabulary words and a few mas'ala or masail in the deen, and they will think that he's a great scholar and a jabal of knowledge. And in reality, he hasn't even studied the Arabic language properly. Yani a method from the matun of the Arabic language, and this is a foul way. And then they will raise him to the status of a great scholar, and he will make jarh and ta'dil, and he will speak about this one and that one, and then the fasad will come. وَكَانَ مَا أَفْسَدَ أَكْثَرَ مِمَّا أَصْلَحَ. Just like Ibn Sirin, he mentioned, rahimahullah ta'ala, وَاللَّهُ الْمُسْتَعَانِ.